I guess it's time to talk. So I don't know if we're going to have time for questions and answers or not. I suppose I got time if you guys have time. So I'm going to just highlight stuff, and my wife is listening in there because we've got an extra speaker, so she can come in here and tell me if I got any details wrong, because she's heard the story more than anybody. Every time one of the kids comes home, I have to tell it again, and that's all right. So I'm not quite sure where to start, other than when after I got to Haiti, we knew a year ago that things were going to be rough because the gangs, instead of killing each other, decided they were going to get together and overthrow the government. I mean, or at least protest the government. And so, working together, they I don't know how do you compliment them. It's like, how do you compliment the devil? He's a busy fellow. And so so they got together, and of course we had no way of knowing when we landed on Tuesday that that by the end of the week they would carry out some plans to really cause trouble in the country. So Anderson, you'll hear me mention Anderson a lot of times. Anderson is the guest house owner, a hotel owner, and I prayed for him. He was an angel sent from God. I mean, I'm not saying he loves Jesus. I'm not sure where he stands. I mean, he does say, "I'm not your protector, God's your protector." But he was such a blessing to us in the whole time we were there. But what happened? He said, for the first time in my, I was born here. He said that for the first time, the airport and the seaport are both closed. And that is, I mean, in modern warfare, that's like setting up a siege mound, because you cut all supplies off, and so that shuts down the possibility of military help. All the fuel, all of the food is stopped at the seaport, and people. And can they get along without new people coming in? Well, probably, but it's pretty hard for the people who are there if they can't get out. And so this was along about Sunday. We had classes starting on Wednesday through Wednesday. So we have 8 days of classes. And it was, I believe it was Sunday morning, that the students who had lots of contact with people on the outside said they went after the airport. And the bigger deal was the prisons. There are 2 state-run prisons in Port-au-Prince, and they broke in and let 4,000 violent offenders out. Lots of death, lots of horrible things. It was, I mean, if you can imagine, 4,000 violent criminals released on the streets. A lot of them probably affiliated with the gangs. And it was after that, with all of that extra manpower, that they were attacking the police stations, burning them down, shutting down the seaport, shutting down the airport, firing at airplanes. The airport has been shut down ever since then, and that was our way home. So we heard, hey, we're supposed to fly out on the 8th. Like, American Airlines messaged us and said, not going to happen. So some of you knew a little bit of the drama if you were at prayer meeting, because the other guys flew down business class. I flew down like I normally do, and they were able to get on a plane a day before me. And so I was just going to wait an extra day and go. And boy, a lot of you said, no, you need to stay with them. And so I hemmed and hawed over it for a while, but I thought, well, I'll try. All the seats were full. And so, and it was going to cost $2,700 extra to get a business class seat. But at everybody's encouragement, I tried and was able to get a seat in business class. But then that flight got canceled too, and so we rebooked for the 22nd, and so and with absolutely no promise that was going to happen, and now those flights have been canceled too. So it just would have been one of those, we're here till April at least. So with all of that going on, we continued with classes, and the students were very preoccupied with what was going on. How am I going to get home? Is my family okay? And so they did great in classroom participation, but most of them really bombed the test. My exam. Normally I teach 2 classes, but this was a double class. I taught Doctrine of Salvation, Soteriology, which is the same material you guys are getting in my Sunday school class. And so I had to find other ways to grade them than the final exam. And so each of the guys actually, as a quiz, had to stand up, and I picked a text from the Hebrew Scriptures from the Old Testament, and they had to tell me how that pointed to the gospel. And they all did really, really well. And I was so thankful because that meant they listened, and so they were able to get their grades. There was one who passed the course by the skin of his teeth, and there were others who got A's and did really well. But so we came to the end of our time. My birthday was that the last day of classes? That was a Wednesday, I think. Yeah. And so they went, and we're already at our meal times. They serve the faculty at our table. They were very kind to us. There's a full-time chef at La Pépinière guest house, and he made really good Haitian food, if you like Haitian food. And he put a little American flair on it once in a while just because he knew what we liked. He knows I like French fries, so he makes French fries once in a while. But so we're looking into options, and a pastor friend of mine said, Steve, I know you guys are kind of stranded, your flights have been canceled, and a friend of mine gave me this information. There's an organization that has run rescue missions all over the planet, starting in Afghanistan and in Israel. And so I on the 13th of March, I contacted them, and this lady said, here's what we need passport information, and I just sent her all this. We're all American citizens, and she said, we're on the way. And I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna be home, in 24 hours, and that just didn't work real well because they were running into all sorts of logistics problems, and what happened was they would say, okay, we're going to have this group meeting, and we're going to get you out of here, and so very shortly we're going to have a communication with all of us. We used an app called WhatsApp, which is a secure way of communicating when you're overseas, and so they said, we're going to have this group meeting very, very shortly. Brian will be on very, very shortly, and then it would go like 2 hours, and we're all sitting outside our rooms, Wi-Fi, because that's the only way we could communicate with our phones. And this went day after day. It's like, okay, be ready. Here's our meeting point. We're going here, and we made sure our transportation was set up, and then we wait, and then it was like, be prepared to go in the middle of the night. And so it was, for lack of a better term, a lot of gut punches. That's why somebody just mentioned a little bit ago, what if you'd gotten back to the Twin Cities and your truck had been stolen from the parking lot? I would have just laughed because I don't care. If my truck's stolen, I'll get Uber or something. So yeah, you get a dose of perspective. So we were sitting waiting for one of those many calls on Saturday. Yes, it was during the day on Saturday, and it wasn't coming. And I set up Wi-Fi calling while I was down there. I've been wanting to do it, and it wouldn't accept 16.5 Avenue for a fire number. So I thought, well, why don't I just put the church address in there? And so I put the church's address. I got Wi-Fi calling, and then I get a call from Joe Anderson while I was down there, and then I get a call from Jack Jenkins, who is a guy, a faculty member who lives in Florida, and he was one of the guys who was with us when the Hurricane Matthew came through, and he didn't do real well under stress in that situation. So he said, Steve, we really want to get you guys out there, and there's a congressman here in Florida who's getting people out. And I thought, yeah, okay, sure. I said, you know what, Jack, can you call Doc Burse? Doc Burst is sitting right across from me, because I said, I'm waiting for a phone call. And so he said, oh yeah, I'll call. So Jim is on the phone with him while I'm just sitting there stewing, waiting for this other phone call to tell us, let's get out of here. And Jim got off the phone and said, we may want to check into this, because they say they're going to try and leave tonight. I said, really? And that sounded very attractive after waiting for days. And I, by this point, I have to tell you, we were given so many different options. One of them that was very attractive to me early on, there was a missionary in Jacmel over the mountains to the south who said, I will send 4 motorcycles after you guys. We'll get you over the hill to us, put you on a boat, and get you to the Dominican Republic. And I'm thinking, oh, that would be so cool. But right away, Anderson said, what? No, your skin would stick out. You're riding through these gang-controlled roads. He said, there's no way. And he said, don't do it. And then we thought, Doc Burst is 73 and really slowing down, and we realized he wasn't going to make a motorcycle trip. And we decided we're going to stay together. So that was one of our exciting options. We had somebody else who told us, we have armored vehicles. We'll come right to your door and take you to the border and drop you off at the border, and then you're on your own. But we'll get you out of the country, get you to safety, and it'll cost you $10,500 per person. Yeah. And I honestly have to say it was tempting as long as we waited. But so this new option came up, and we had prayer meeting, and while I'm praying, we're saying, God, you promised to give wisdom, and that's we didn't have promise that we would live another day, but we did have promise from God there would be wisdom. Don't make up promises of God. I'm just claiming a healing before you. God did not give you a promise, any of that, but He did promise to give wisdom, and so we asked for it. I just was wrapping up my prayer. In fact, I probably would have prayed on longer, and then Jim's phone rang. And she said, we've got 4 seats leaving between 2 and 4 in the morning. We need to know now. And so I said, buy some time, because we got to know if we have a ride to, and they were going to leave from the airport, from the closed airport, which is now being guarded 24 hours by Haitian military and police. And so we said, ask her if we can just make sure we've got a ride. And she said, yes, but please get back to us, because we'll give those seats away to somebody else. And so Anderson said, yeah, let's go. We're ready to go. This is late afternoon on Saturday. And so we called her back and said, let's do it. She said, okay, here's what you need to do. As soon as you can get to Servotel, which is a hotel. And for all I knew, it was going to be typically Haitian. And I'm just thinking, oh man, but I want to get out of here. And Anderson said, no, it's a nice place. It's a safe place. So Anderson said, get your things, which we had our things. We've been wearing the same clothes, take a shower, put your dirty clothes back on, because we had told with the first way out is if it's too heavy, we crash in the mountains and we all die. So that convinced me, okay, I don't need my fancy, as my daughter calls it, zesty suitcase. So we left. I left 2 suitcases and a whole bunch of clothes and my books that I brought to read, 3 library books and a couple of big fat novels that Elijah loaned me, so I owe him a couple of books, and all of my student materials, a French Bible, just everything. And thankfully my wife has bought me some new clothes, so I'm in pretty good shape now. But so we're ready. And so we went down to the lobby. Anderson said, I've got to get a few things in order. You wait here. And he said, okay, I want you to go out one at a time. And this is a gated neighborhood, armed guards in the neighborhood, armed guards at the gates, a wall that's about that tall. And he still wanted us to go out one at a time. And so I went out first and sat in the front seat, and then everybody else followed. And we went, and he got in, and before we left, he said, okay. He said, Médecins Sans Frontières. Say that, Médecins Sans Frontières. And so I tried it, but his accent, I wasn't quite sure what he was saying, But then he showed me his phone. It's Doctors Without Borders. Médecins is doctor sans without frontières, without borders. So his worry was not just the gangs, but we were out after curfew. And if we got stopped, he had a press pass on his dash. I mean, he also carries a .40 caliber handgun and has a helmet and a bulletproof vest, but he also has press credentials. And so he wanted us to pose as medical personnel, and I'm thinking, so I'm gonna lie to somebody, so I'm having this moral dilemma while we're driving. But what he did was, Joel is the guy who, when we came from the airport, Joel rode in the back of this really nice new Mazda, with bulletproof glass, by the way, rode in the back on top of our luggage across town. Well, this time Joel is did you ever watch Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? Yeah, Marlon Perkins, he'd send the other guy down and wrestle with the alligator. Okay, that's Joel. So Joel is out in front of us driving through the streets, and we knew, because we had through this before, if Joel slams on the brakes and you see backup lights, you get out of there and turn around. So this happened like 3 times on the way, but I don't know that he saw gang activity or anything like that, and it would have been like if there was a police checkpoint. But what's going on down there, if you live in Haiti and you're afraid of the gangs coming into your neighborhood, you take some of the burned out vehicles, whatever you can find, rocks, trees, tires, and you pile them up at the end of your street to keep them out, or at least to repel them long enough so you can, throw rocks at them or whatever. So we ran into that a couple of different times, and so we'd have to back up because Haitian streets are not like on a nice, neat grid. So we made our way through, we got over by the airport, and this is what I was concerned about because of what had just happened at the airport. And as we're pulling up to the airport, I see a whole bunch of fire in the middle of the street. I thought, oh man. And I said, what's going on over there? Because there were no people around. Somebody said, oh yeah, they're just burning garbage. So, and that is because the garbage collection, which is almost non-existent, hadn't been going on. The garbage had been piling up in the street. So this wasn't burning tires and a riot or anything, or something to stop traffic. It was just garbage. So that made me feel a little bit better about it. And so we came and honked the horn in front of Servotel, and they let us in, and we went in and sat in the lobby and said our goodbyes to Anderson. He gave us all a big hug, and he liked us. He really has become a good friend through the years, and was checking on us after we got out and was so thrilled. I sent him a picture of the helicopter. But we sat in the lobby and we met a guy named Byron, and Byron was a missionary who was the contact person with Congressman Mills. And he said, yeah, just, sit right here, and we're supposed to be going middle of the night. So we thought, well, I hope they'll let us stay here. Well, they weren't real wild about us just sitting in the lobby. And the guy hinted around a little bit, guys, maybe I ought to have a room. So we thought, well, if we have to, we have to. And then news came that whoever gave permission to land at the airport had been overruled. And so they could no longer land at the airport. And now we've left our secure location and we're at the airport, or across from the airport. And it's like, now what? Now what do we do? But again, that's why if my truck had been stolen, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Because we're just really wondering how we're going to get home, because this is just one more delay. But we rented 2 rooms, and I the Burses were in one room, and then we got the room without air conditioning, which again, that was okay. But we just kind of went into a fitful rest, and at 1:30 in the morning we got a phone call. They found another landing site, and we're leaving at 4 a.m. from the lobby of Servotel, and so we're like, okay. And I'm there trying to be quiet so Rich can get some sleep, and I realize he's playing on his phone too. And finally, I said, it's 3 o'clock. I said, I don't think you're sleeping either. I'm just going to go get my shower, and then you can come in when I'm done. So I took my shower and put my dirty clothes back on over the top of my nice clean body. And we went downstairs and we're waiting, and then we're meeting some of the new people who were from missionaries from a Christian school. That was most of the group. There were two other ladies who are in education. I don't think necessarily from a Christian perspective, but a lady who is of Haitian descent, and then another lady from Miami, and then the four of us. And there was a van there to pick us up at the door. And we drove about 4 or 5 blocks, and there's a police blockade. They're all wearing balaclavas, which really bothers me, but apparently that's so they don't get recognized by the gangs. So it's for their safety. And they stopped, heavily armed police officers, and we're right by the airport. And I thought, oh man. And the Haitian lady said, open the windows so they can see who's in here. And so we're sliding the windows open on the van, and the driver is talking Creole with them, and they waved us through. And we were so thankful. But then I noticed there's a vehicle following us. Everywhere we went, this vehicle followed us, and so there's more of this inordinate fear. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? Isn't that what Vince Lombardi said? And finally, I said, guys, what's up with the vehicle behind us? And somebody said, no, it's okay, they're with us. I thought, oh, well, because we've got our whole group here. And I found out later that they were some armed guys who were there for our protection. And so they got waved through as well. And so we drove through into a very nice, quiet neighborhood, and knocked on the gate. Every property has a wall around it and a big metal gate. And so there was a night watchman at this church. This church had a big yard and a soccer field. And the Corey Mills, Congressman Mills, is a military vet. I think he was special ops. And so they were so detailed. They had precise coordinates, and they sent us a Google Earth picture on WhatsApp. All of us had it, with the precise landing spot of the plane, where vehicles were to be parked, because this was going to be a nighttime pickup. So shine headlights out here, and you guys, because there's going to be so much debris flying, you guys stand over between these two buildings. They did all of this from GPS coordinates. And then a Google Earth picture. So they sent this out to us. I could show it to you guys later if somebody wants to look at it. But they had this all planned out, and they said, we're going to land, blades running, you got 2 minutes to get in, come single file. And so we obeyed. But they had lots of logistical problems because weight sucks fuel on helicopters, and if they didn't calculate right, you're flying over mountains and you can just use your own imagination like I did. So they were late, and we were in a church property. So it was actually an evangelical church. Solid. It was actually an English-speaking church, and so they had started their church service already. But we were waiting outside for our ride, and they were able to text, say, "Hey, we're 20 minutes out," or we just crossed the border, and so 5 minutes out. And so then we had been even through the night listening and looking into the sky, and here came the helicopter, and it came around. Everybody was guessing which direction it would come from. I was the one who was right about where it would come from. So I have Grandpa Wilbert's internal compass. So they came from the southwest and came around, and I got my camera going because Ruth Erickson told me I had to take pictures. And so it came around, and you talk about debris. I know why they said be between these two buildings. Rocks and dust and leaves, and some of you have seen the video of the rescue on Fox News and places. That was my video, but they didn't pay me for it. I don't want to be paid for it. I've got my claim to fame because I took the pictures that Corey used. But single file, I was concerned that Doc Burst might have trouble getting in. As it turned out, it wasn't a very big step to get in. But I said, Jim, you go in front and I'll push you in if you can't get in. So the video you saw was Doc Burt's wearing black. He's Johnny Cash, and so he's always wearing black, and so he stands out in those pictures. And he got in, and Anna got in, and we all piled in. This is a civilian version of the Black Hawk helicopter. So it has 6 seats in the back, 2 seats in front. There was a crew of 4 coming in because Corey Mills and then his old military buddy came along as his right-hand man, and then the 2 pilots. And then there were 13 more of us. And so we had 17 on this little plane. And we made it. I didn't set my stopwatch. We made it in 2 minutes, hands down. We were in. But the Corey's right-hand man was kind of gruff, like, go, 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 get in here. And because he wanted to shut that door. And I kind of figured out later why. But we began to lift off then right away, and boy, was that helicopter working and creating another tornado on the ground. And it was so slow, and he was doing this, and I thought, we're too heavy. Some of us are going to have to get out. There's the creative image of God in us is a good thing, that ability to create and think things. But we're also living in the flesh, and so that creative image of God sometimes imagines things that aren't true. I found out later there was a string hanging from the tree, and he thought it was a wire. And so he was maneuvering us around to keep us away from that. Once we cleared the trees, he kept going up so we would be out of reach of anything that was being fired at us. And we went up, and we headed for the hills. And so I have pictures of all that too. Sunday, I think I'm going to put some things. Being out here, I didn't figure I could show slides tonight, but I will try on Sunday maybe and show some slides. So a lot of lessons learned. I'll talk about the spiritual applications of being a refugee, because the biblical Exodus redemption pictures are thick with the things that went on in the last week in my life. So we flew to Baranjo, which is the first airport in the Dominican Republic. While we were headed to Baranjo, we're headed for the hills, but to the south coast of the island of Hispaniola. As soon as we left Haitian airspace, Corey said, guys, we are now leaving Haitian airspace, and everybody's like, yay, and I'm thinking, there's a whole lot of people left behind that would love to be where we are. I mean, not just the 1,000 or so Americans, but the 1,000 or 2 Canadians and a whole bunch of Haitians. My interpreter, Spencer, was so wanting to go to the U.S. His wife is a nurse, and she wanted to go to the U.S. She can't work because, it was just a mess. He's got a little toddler girl, and she can't go to school because it's so dangerous. But Spencer this time said, I think God wants me here. And if all of us leave, speaking all of these people who are in leadership, that leaves a vacuum here. So as thrilled as I was to get out of the country, I realized that was something that I have to keep in my mind as I pray for these people. As soon as we were out of Haitian airspace, though, Corey and Brian, his buddy, took their bulletproof vests off and stowed away their weapons that I didn't realize they had, and their clips and everything, and put them under the seats in the helicopter, which was quite a thing because everybody had to get out of the way because we were already so packed in. But they put things away, and they were a lot more lighthearted then. And we worked our way to Baranjo. We left the blades going and had to refuel there in order to get us to Santo Domingo. They took us right to the airport in Santo Domingo. Corey Mills already had things worked out with American authorities, what little Haitian authorities were around, because normally you get your passport stamped when you leave the country, and if you come back in and you don't have your passport stamped, so Lord willing, if I can go back to Haiti, I won't be in trouble for leaving the country. And So we breezed through immigration in the Dominican Republic and were able to get flights. We missed the first one. We were just too close to the first one to go to Miami because we wanted to get out of there. But because we had a little time to wait, I went to a Carl's Jr. and got a big American hamburger, even though I was still in Santo Domingo. And so I got a hamburger and fries and bottled water for $19.50. But I had budgeted $20 for that meal. So I guess you could say it was a win. And so we were able to fly and land in Miami about 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, and I heard the and I sent some text messages first to Sarah and others. We're able to text some people. We were able to text people from Santo Domingo too, so that was a good thing. I guess I'll leave it at that. We stayed and I couldn't get all the way home on that day, and so I flew out 8:30 in the morning on Monday to Minneapolis by way of Chicago. So I got actually home late afternoon on Monday. So that's the nutshell. I don't know. We have time for. You can ask questions. If you don't want to ask questions, you can leave too if you want. But I'll. If you have any, I got stories. So I'll stay as long as you want to ask questions.
Did you hear from any of the students? Did they all get home? Or are they home fine?
I didn't hear from all of them. They were more concerned with us than themselves, and so. Heard from several of them while we were there, and I've heard from a couple since I got back here. They wanted to make sure I made it all the way back. So there was one student who had, 100 miles or so to go, and so he stayed with one of our faculty who is a former student and who's very hospitable. So he and his wife kept this fellow at their house. So I did not hear if he ever left or if he's still staying with them. I talked to Pastor Predeston. He is not in the country right now. He's in the Dominican Republic with Amy and the kids. He said the children are fine. We gave the money for the water filtration system, and I realize now prices have just dramatically gone up. But in order to get that system into Haiti, it would have to go over the border, and the border is all but closed. Haiti and the Dominican Republic aren't getting along well, and if the thing had come in to Haiti, good chance that a big piece of equipment like that would be stolen and sold on the black market. So they still don't have their filtration system at the orphanage. But he assured me that the children are fine. Food is an issue because the seaport was shut down. There were other internal corrupt things going on. Like I found out while I was there that there are a handful of guys who, for instance, control all of the rice supply in the country because they grow rice there. But they control, they have a monopoly on it. And so if you talk about oligarchs under Putin, they've got some of those in Haiti too. So a handful of very, very wealthy people who are, they aren't the good guy capitalists, I'll put it that way. So that's an issue. But the children have food. I'm just thinking that it's really hard to get it to them.
Did your students, are they pastors now? Did they graduate?
Well, some of them have been pastors already, and they're just getting their education. Graduation is scheduled for the end of next year. So I am on the schedule. I am supposed to be there twice in 2025, once for my normal classes and then to prepare them for graduation. But even when you graduate, you don't become a pastor until you have a church. And these fellows are being trained in church planting, and so assisting their own local church and reaching out. Some of them are already associate pastors. You also realize there's no such thing as a vocational pastor in Haiti. So all of these guys work. One of our best students is a pretty handy electrician, and he has done really well for himself in recent days because solar panels have become accessible in Haiti, and so that's a big deal when you live in a place where the power grid is almost non-existent. And so even the stability of our internet, which was a real lifeline to you all while I was down there, I got two different ladies in the church sent me pictures of the kids singing to me, which was really not only made me cry, it really was a great encouragement. But that's because our Wi-Fi was not only coming in by satellite, so the gangs can't cut us off, but it was powered by, even though it got shut off all the time because of people throwing switches, it was powered by solar energy and batteries. So that's a good thing. Anyway, but these guys are not. Some of them are preaching every Sunday. Most of them are not. What else?
So what's the leader of the country put himself in power, and then the gangs want to kill him or whatever, dethrone him. So what's worse? The gangs must be worse, I'm guessing.
Okay. Well, let me say this. There was a duly elected president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated 3 years ago. He was preparing to appoint a prime minister and didn't live long enough to do that. And so the international community said, well, Ariel Henry is his name. You just take charge. Well, the gangs are like, nah, bro, no. So the gangs, as they got together, it makes them sound like they're really noble. We need a leader who's chosen by the people. And it is true, Ariel Henry seemed to be very corrupt because he would not set up elections. They've had no government there, no parliament since 2021. So the president's dead. They have a prime minister who really isn't the prime minister, promising over and over, yeah, we'll have elections. And so he stayed in power. And finally, he says, I'm going to go negotiate with Kenya, and Kenya's going to send some help for us. And this is just my skeptical self, because I'm a Calvinist and I believe in total depravity. I suspect that maybe he was hoping for 1,000 Kenyan soldiers to protect him from the gangs, but that's just me. Henri, while he's out of the country, this is what encouraged the gangs to do the stuff that they did. And the concern for helicopters is because anytime something is going to land, they think Ariel Henry is on the plane or the helicopter, so they're watching all over. They shut the Cap-Haitien airport down, which is on the north coast, shut the Port-au-Prince airport down, Seaport shut down, and so you would think that once they found out where Henri was, that they'd lighten up, and they didn't. Henri is in Puerto Rico. Dominican Republic said, you may not land here, because they knew there would be trouble in the Dominican Republic if he landed. So he's hanging out on a U.S. territory in Puerto Rico, sipping from a glass with an umbrella in it or something. And he supposedly resigned. But yeah, there are a lot of politics behind it. You can ask me about that later. What else? Did I have a good birthday? Yeah, I didn't tell you guys this. I came downstairs and two of our graduates who are also faculty members came back. Spencer, you may have heard me talk about Spencer. Spencer and Franklin came, they said, happy birthday, we brought you a cake. They found a bakery that was open, and this really delicious pound cake with goop around. It was really, really good. And we sat down to eat it, and then Anderson came. There was an upscale grocery store that caters to Americans who were down there and Canadians. He brought me a pizza and barbecued wings, and he dumped a bunch of French fries on my plate that were still hot, and then a decorated bakery happy birthday cake. And so they were so kind. And a bottle of champagne, I guess it was. and just let's have a party. And so the students and Anderson and his, I think it was his daughter, sat at the table, and they sang to me, and so they were just very, very kind to me. And we had just gotten done eating all of this. It's right like about noon, and they didn't tell Fritz, the chef, and so they come and set a platter of fish on the table, and they start bringing food off, and we're like, oh no. And so we didn't normally eat supper, but Anderson said, when do you want to eat? Do you want to eat 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock. So I had from 1:30 to 4 to get my appetite back, and so they served us a third meal that day, and at 4 o'clock. So it was funny. If any of you are inclined, by the way, I am going to send Anderson some money because we just found out today, and he would not let on that he's basically out of money because he turned everybody away. We were there, and so we really want to encourage him. So I found out what his bank number is and all that. So I'm gonna Western Union him some money because we are very blessed that God put him in our way, and some of the others are going to do the same. So. What else? Yes, I can. Oh, that's Dr. Rich Powell. He is a pastor in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and he's one of our faculty members. Was the thumbs up picture on the news? Or
No, I got that from Elijah.
from Elijah? Okay. Yeah, that was Dr. Rich Powell, Grace Bible Church in Winston-Salem. What else? Well, you can find me individually. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to go get some more dessert if there's any more over there. And you can ask. Go ahead, Carrie.
I saw barbecue with a white shirt on, like a suit almost, talking. Is he that or?
Barbecue?
Yeah.
That's Jimmy Cherizier. Jimmy likes to go by barbecue, and there are two different theories behind that. One theory is that he eats people. He says it's because barbecue was invented in Haiti, and he's very pro-Haiti. So but Jimmy isn't the head of all the gangs, but he's the only gang leader of the coalition. They call it G9. He's the only gang leader who really loves to be out in public. He loves to be interviewed by the press. And so he sounds like he's just so pro-Haitian, and you can tell that he's lying because his lips are moving. He's a bad dude, and so that's why the whole barbecue thing, that he likes to be called that, and so everybody jokes about barbecue now. But no, you will, if you see a representative of the gangs talking, more than likely it's Jimmy.
He has a big Freemason medallion, doesn't he? He's talking, doesn't he have a big medallion he wears?
I'm not sure. He normally wears some kind of a skull cap, and he fancies himself, is it Chavez? He wears a beret sometimes, because he's like a revolutionary, and he thinks he's really something special. Yeah, the students said, should we be praying for Jimmy? And I said, yes. What else? All right.